Have you ever wondered if there's a kind of knowledge that's been, well, hidden from us? I'm talking about ideas that were deliberately erased, not because they were wrong, but because they were considered way too dangerous. This was a kind of inner science, a knowledge that promised you direct power over your perception, your energy, even your own destiny. And then poof, it just vanished from the official record. So what did they know? And why were we so strongly encouraged to forget it? All right, so here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to go on a real journey to uncover this lost wisdom. First, we'll dig into what this vanished knowledge actually was. Then, we're going to decode its secret blueprint for reality. We'll ask the big question, why were these powerful ideas forbidden? And then, we'll figure out how we can reclaim this inner science for ourselves right now. To wrap it all up, we'll do a quick-fire recap of the core concepts. So let's jump right in with the first big question. What exactly was this knowledge that was apparently so powerful it had to be systematically scrubbed from our history books? I mean, seriously, what could possibly be so threatening? Well, we're talking about a whole framework for understanding reality that gave the individual, that's you and me, the keys to influencing the world. Not institutions, not authorities, you. It was a direct line to personal power. The name for this knowledge is metaphysics. And it literally just means beyond the physical. You can think of it as humanity's very first attempt to write a user manual for the universe. And what's absolutely fascinating is that pretty much every ancient culture had a name for this invisible force running the show. The Tao in China, Aether in Greece, Akasha in India, the Logos in the West. They were all describing the exact same thing. Okay, so if all these different cultures were pointing to the same unseen reality, what did they agree on? Let's decode the blueprint they all shared, the fundamental rules for how they believed reality really works. And it's pretty wild because even though they were separated by vast oceans and centuries of time, they all landed on three core truths about the universe and, our place in it. So the first big principle is that everything is vibration. The Taoists called it ki, the Greeks called it pruma, the Hindus called it prana. For them, energy wasn't some kind of metaphor. It was the literal stuff that everything is made of. And here's the crucial part. They believed our thoughts are actual, subtle vibrations that ripple out and influence physical matter. This wasn't just some philosophical idea. It was considered practical physics, something modern quantum theory is only now starting to catch up to. Now, the second principle, this one is even more of a mindbender. It's the idea that your mind and the entire cosmos are reflections of each other. You've probably heard the famous Hermetic phrase, as above, so below. Well, that's it in a nutshell. It means your inner world isn't just separate from the outer world. When you organize your mind, you are, quite literally, helping to tune the universe around you. And the third principle is that truth is encoded in symbols. See, before we had complex written languages, ancient teachers used things like geometry, music, and myth to pass on knowledge. Those mandalas or Pythagorean ratios, they weren't just pretty decorations. They were highly efficient ways to compress profound wisdom. You can almost think of them as a kind of visual operating system for your consciousness. Now, all of this sounds incredibly empowering, right? Which brings us to the most critical question of all. If this knowledge was so profound, why on earth was it suppressed? And this right here really lays out the central conflict perfectly. On one side, you've got inner sovereignty. This knowledge teaches that you can shape your own reality from the inside out. But that's a direct threat to the other side, external hierarchies. We're talking governments, organized religions, any system that depends on you believing that power comes from some outside authority that you must obey. And this isn't just a theory. You can see it play out again and again throughout history. I mean, think of China's first emperor, who ordered the burning of countless philosophical texts to stamp out any thinking that didn't serve his central power. In the West, the early church declared Hermetic and Gnostic books, the ones that said the kingdom of God is within you, as heresy. And even today, the pattern continues, just a bit more subtly. Metaphysics gets dismissed as woo-woo, not because it's useless, but because an empowered, sovereign individual isn't exactly the best consumer, are they? So the tragic result of all this is that we basically traded an inner science for external control. We became absolutely brilliant at manipulating the outside world. I mean, we can build rockets and fly to the moon, but we've largely forgotten how to navigate our own inner world, how to reach our own center. So here's the most important point. How do we get this back? Well, the good news is we don't need ancient temples or secret societies.
All we really need is our own direct experience.
We can start with 3 really practical, modern approaches that actually mirror these ancient schools of thought, and you can start doing them today. First, just observe energy. Notice how a room feels totally different when someone walks in angry versus calm. That's it. That's the subtle physics of attention. Second, practice symbolic thinking. Start looking for patterns in your life, in your dreams. Try to read reality a bit more like a poem, not just a literal instruction manual. And third, merge the rational with the mystical. Use your logic to test your intuitive insights and let your intuition inspire new logical questions. And this little formula here really shows us how it all works. See, wisdom isn't just about collecting facts. It's more like alchemy. You take your raw experience, like observing that energy in a room, you find the symbolic pattern in it, and then you apply conscious reflection to figure out what it means. That simple process is how you turn knowledge into real wisdom, and it's exactly how thinkers from Lao Tzu to Pythagoras operated. At the end of the day, metaphysics isn't about performing magic tricks or anything like that. It's about taking responsibility. Because if your inner state truly does affect your reality, then every single thought you have is like a vote for the kind of world you want to live in. The power was never about controlling nature, it was about aligning with it. Okay, we have covered a lot of ground. So to make sure this all really sinks in, let's do a quick recap of the core concepts we've explored. Think of it like a mental mind map. First up, vibration. Just remember, this is the fundamental medium of everything. Your thoughts, your feelings, the very chair you're sitting on. It's all just energy moving at different speeds, different frequencies. Second, the mind-cosmos mirror, that ancient principle, as above, so below. Your internal world and your external reality, they're totally linked. You change one, and you can't help but influence the other. Third, symbols. Remember, these are not just pictures. They are powerful tools for getting your head around complex truths. They're like a bridge between your logical mind and that deeper, intuitive part of you. And finally, reclamation. This is the active part. It's the modern practice of bringing this inner science back into your life simply through paying attention, recognizing patterns, and taking a moment for conscious reflection. So, I want to leave you with a final thought, a question to kind of chew on. Now that we've gone through all this, what are your own forbidden questions? What are the things about yourself or about reality that you've been sort of conditioned to believe you shouldn't even ask? Because maybe the most powerful secret of all is that this kind of truth is never really lost. It can't die. It just waits, patiently, for those of us who are brave enough to start remembering.
Like and subscribe for timeless wisdom.